What I find so interesting about what we do in the orchestral world when it comes to new music especially is that we have so little time to find an interpretation. I mean, I don't know how many rehearsals you had with the Vancouver Symphony, but two rehearsals, including the dress?
I think two and the dress.
Two and the, but still, that's
short
like,
rehearsals.
that's like not even 3 hours of
Yeah,
rehearsal
no.
for a piece that's
22, 23
yeah. I mean, you know, this is really an incredibly short amount of time when we think about how we learn things, and we learn an entire language, and to understand all of these gestures. And I mean, we want layer upon layer upon layer of understanding, really, when we walk on stage to play something, especially if it's a well-known symphony of Mahler or Beethoven, and we have to go out and give convincing performances. I mean, this is one of the fascinating things about you're standing on the podium conducting the map. Okay, so you've got 100 people in front of you who have never played it before, Ansi who's played it many times, the video is stable, and you're translating this utter conviction because you know every element of it, but we don't always have that, right? I mean, if it's... and perhaps the very first time you did the map was not quite the same as it is today. Obviously, you know, it's much more deeply rooted in you. And I think this is one of the things that's so important about doing new music, actually, that we have to find an identity. And sometimes, frankly, it's a little bit of guesswork, in a way. You say, I have to have commitment to a gesture because I'm going on stage tonight and I'm going to play this. And you might listen to it later and think it was terrible, actually. But if you weren't convinced of it, you weren't going to convince anybody else of it.
But interestingly enough, you might... I just came back from conducting my third symphony in Edmonton, and you might think that as... I don't know, Don, how this works for you, but I find it very difficult to conduct my own music. I think I've faced many of the same problems that anybody would face. I have to go back, look at the score, analyze it, and say, why the hell did I write a mezzo piano here? You know, what... Oh, I see, okay, I want this. And I have to mark the score just as thoroughly as if I were playing somebody else's piece for the first time. I think part of the problem for me is that whether, you know, obviously I know the piece, but I think my ear sometimes supplies what is not there in rehearsal. And I don't know, Don, if that's your experience in conducting your own music.
Sometimes I feel the other way around, yeah. I felt when I conduct, it's a part of my composing process, actually. Because every time I thought any piece I finished, I just feel it's not finished yet unless I played it. It's just like if I wrote a piano piece, I never thought that piano piece on the paper is a piece yet unless I start to grab it on the piano, I start to hear it, feel it. So in the very, very beginning, when I was conducting my piece with orchestra, I never treated it as a technical way, but much more as a musician way, just to feel it as so in that way, I don't feel it very stressful. Maybe I feel very much playful, but I don't care about if I make a mistake or make something not so clear. But at least one thing, the player will treat me as one of them. Like I'm one of those quartet members, or I'm one of the orchestra members. I'm breathing with them. I'm talking with them. Same thing like when I just rehearse Takamitsu's piece. You know, I said, you know, I didn't do it before, you didn't do it, but let's do it as a chamber way. We discuss it letter by letter, and you say your way, I say my way. Then we come together, and it's so comfortable.
Well, what's fascinating about this very discussion is exactly why we love doing this festival so much, because there are so many different ways to approach. There's so many different kinds of music being created. We live in very exciting times from that point of view.